Howdy Patriots, welcome back to the Maryland Maverick. My name's Colin McEvers. Got a new tie today at Michael's. Great little tie here, only about $10, but really pops, very red, very Republican. I love it. I love some nice ties. My grandfather told me, he said, red is a power color. So if you have a red tie, it is a sign of immense power. So great tie, great day. Hope you all are doing well here in the good old-fashioned studio, not at college at the moment, here in Glen Burnie, because I actually filed to run for delegate in District 32 today, Legislative District 32. So I went to the Maryland Board of Elections, did my paperwork, filed, got my campaign committee set up, all that stuff, because there are no other Republicans that are interested in running for this district because it's considered such a losing district. But I don't care. We need someone that's a Republican to stand up and actually run and do the work that's necessary. I don't care that this is a mostly Democratic district, okay? I'm never going to suppress my values and try to moderate my positions. I'll never do that because I'm authentic and what I'm saying is the truth, particularly as it pertains to immigration, illegal immigration, the border that's being hopped over, and the resources that are being taken away from Maryland citizens. I actually just spoke about it at this little event only about a couple hours ago. It was the North County Republican Club. Had the opportunity to talk a little bit about the immigration crisis, especially in Maryland, with all of these illegals who are just getting benefits, who are getting housing, who are getting resources that are entitled to American citizens, Maryland citizens, but which are being taken away and sucked dry because our government does not care about Maryland citizens. It cares about foreigners who are pouring into the country because that's popular politically in this country. It doesn't matter what's popular. It matters what's best for Maryland, because we, at the end of the day, are a Maryland first campaign, and that will never change, okay? It will never change. We will always be America first and Maryland first. Speaking of that, speaking of America first, what is the religion that America is founded upon? A, Christianity. B, Islam. C, I don't know, sticks and stones. Doesn't matter. Okay, let me just answer the question. A, Christianity. Our founding fathers were Christians. We are a Christian nation. Our whole idea that we've built our country upon, of being a country in which the people are equal before God, that is only possible if we are, as a country, as a nation, Christian. That raises some concerns that a lot of people have been complaining about lately with one of the gubernatorial candidates for the Republican governor's race here in Maryland. The one who has actually been in the longest. I'll admit, he has worked very hard. He has talked to a lot of people. I give him a lot of credit. I have a lot of respect for the man. But he made a blunder. He made a terrible blunder yesterday or today. I don't know when Ramadan starts, but he made a post. This is John Myrick, by the way, okay? Let me just get it out of the way. He made a post on his Facebook page saying, Happy Ramadan. And we stand with our Muslim community, all this stuff. And he got maybe like 30 likes and a lot of comments, maybe like 80 plus comments. So bad ratio, a very bad ratio. And when you look at the comments, you will see that it is not a great day for John Myrick and his campaign. He made the mistake of saying Happy Ramadan, I stand with the Muslim community, and failing to say Happy Ash Wednesday. Happy Lent. God bless our Christian nation. He did not say Happy Lent. He did not say Happy Ash Wednesday or address the Christian community. But he did say Happy Ramadan, that he stands with the Muslim community. But he did not give that same courtesy to the Christian community, to the Christian constituents, which most Republican voters are, by the way. So although I understand that he was trying to be as inclusive as possible to other religions, and that's kind of what he's responding to in the comments to people that are saying, you lost my vote. I was thinking about voting for you. I no longer am. He was responding to these comments. He was saying, I believe that all religions are awesome, are incredible, that we should have religious tolerance for all of the religions in our great world. That should be accepted because the founding fathers believed in religious tolerance. So the first thing with that argument is that that would only apply and that would only make sense, that line of argument, that line of reasoning, if he had said Happy Lent, Happy Ash Wednesday as well, which he did not. He failed to do that. And secondly, the thing is that the founding fathers, for the most part, in my interpretation and a lot of people's interpretations of what the founding fathers meant when they're talking about religious tolerance, all of them, almost all of them, were of Christian faith, but a lot of them were of different denominations. Presbyterian, evangelical, Catholic, a couple Orthodox here and there, maybe, probably not many Orthodox actually, but all these different denominations of Christianity. Were the founding fathers thinking, yeah, we can have a big party of Muslims and Christians and all these other religions that exist in the world? Who knows? Pagans, whatever. There are a lot of people who argue, and this is a decent argument, this is what I believe as well, that what the founding fathers meant, if you interpret their time, their place, and what the values that this country is founded upon, that the religious tolerance that they were talking about mostly referred to Christian denominations, different branches of the Christian faith. The Pilgrims, the Protestants, they were fleeing religious persecution from the Catholic Church, and they came over in the 1600s and started setting up shop in America, Massachusetts Bay Colony, Plymouth Rock. Now, am I saying that we need to persecute different people of different religions? No, I'm not saying that, of course. Why would we persecute people of Islamic faith? Why would we persecute Muslims? We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that they have a place in our great country. But does that mean that our politicians should be Islamic? Does that mean that our politicians should be promoting different religions besides Christianity? Well, the basic argument goes, this is a Christian nation, and the fact that John Myrick, and again, I'm going to say this, I like the guy, I think he's cool, I respect him, but he did not lend his support or lend his celebration, his celebratory remarks to Lent, to Ash Wednesday, to a Christian tradition, to a Christian holiday. That is really going to hurt him. This was a very, very bad moment in his campaign. And if you see the comments, most of them are very negative. People are saying, we shouldn't be lending so much support to Islam. There's too much radical Islamic terrorism going on in the country already. Places like New York City are literally being invaded and infiltrated and taken over by Muslims, by people like Zoran Mamdani. Places in Europe is literally being invaded by Muslims. They're setting up shop, they are being very aggressive, and they are taking over parts of Europe. And part of that is because Europeans are very weak. They're ashamed of themselves, they're ashamed of their race, they're ashamed of their past of colonialism and all this BS, all this indoctrination, this shaming that has, been foisted upon people of European descent, which is just terrible. People should have pride in that, honestly. People should have pride in their European heritage and their white identity. There should be no problem about that, okay? By the way, I'm just going to say that no one should ever have shame in their whiteness or their European ancestry, okay? First of all, the celebration of Muslim holidays, of Muslim traditions, of Muslim religions, like Islam, it's just not a good look. And I feel like if you look at it strategically, you have a pretty crowded Republican gubernatorial primary at this point. You have John Myrick, you have Dan Cox, you have Ed Hale, you have possibly Hershey going to enter the race soon, potentially. We have a couple more days to figure out whether or not that's going to happen. But it's a crowded Republican primary. You got to think, I should be doing things that will appeal to my Republican base, to the MAGA base, to my Christian base of voters. Why would you post something that's celebrating a Muslim holiday and avoid and forget to post something that celebrates an ongoing Christian holiday when most of the people that are going to be voting for you in this primary happen to be Christian? because they're Americans. This country, for the most part, is a Christian country, and it should be that way. There's no problem with it being that way. We should have religious preference as a country, as a society, as a nation. There's no problem with that. I don't buy the whole, oh, we need to tolerate all religions, even the ones that happen to be practiced by the people that are literally coming over and invading our country and, committing terrorist attacks and all these things and taking over large cities like New York, taking over places like Minneapolis, setting up mosques, tearing down our churches, blowing up our churches, saying, we are going to be as aggressive as possible. We are going to invade you. And what are you going to do about it? And what are the people that are trying to run for Republican nominations and primaries doing? They're not standing up for our Christian faith, for our Christian values as a country. They're saying, Happy Ramadan. We love our Muslim community. And that's just not going to work. It's not going to work in a Republican primary. Again, like Myrick, he starts out most of his speeches by saying, I'm not a politician. I am not a politician. I'm just a person. And frankly, maybe that's the problem. Maybe you should be a politician. Maybe you should know what your voters think. Maybe you should have an understanding of what the Republican base wants you to talk about and wants you to celebrate. Like if you were a politician, maybe you would understand that posting about Ramadan and celebrating it on your public page and evading an ongoing Christian holiday would be a negative thing, would possibly hurt your campaign and your candidacy. Like maybe that's the problem. Maybe we should stop this whole thing where we're like, oh, we shouldn't be politicians. We shouldn't employ political strategies. We shouldn't be strategic because you know what? The Democrats are being very strategic. People from different countries, people like Bad Bunny who were, running in with a bunch of flags from different Latin American countries, they're being very strategic. The Muslims that are invading parts of Europe and invading New York City and invading all of our cities, they're being very strategic about it. They're being politicians. They're taking over our government. We have people like Ilhan Omar who are representing Congress who have dual loyalty, who have loyalty to another country. Not to the United States. These are not American patriots. These are not people who are heritage Americans. And we shouldn't be afraid to say it. There's no shame in it. It's just a fact. And frankly, I honestly think that this whole issue, I gotta say, it might be the end of John Myrick's campaign as we know it. I think this is the nail in the coffin. If you had to ask me, as a political strategist, as an observer, as a commentator, as someone who's involved and who looks at these trends, I think this is kind of like the nail in the coffin. And good fight, good work. Again, I will never disrespect the hard work that John Myrick has done throughout the state. All the speeches that he's given, all of the work that he's done. As a young man, I have a lot of respect and gratitude for that as well, because that's what we need to be doing as Republicans. But I just think this whole kind of, this kind of decision making is not good. And it shows a lack of judgment. It shows a lapse in good decision making. And I think that is just a sad reality that we have to move on. We have to have someone who is willing to prefer the Christian faith, who's willing to stand up and say, all religion should be tolerated, but we have a preference as a society, as a country, for Christianity. And that we shouldn't be ashamed of that. Because again, the invaders of our country, they have a preference. They prefer their people, their language, their religion. So there should be no problem in us doing the same thing. And standing for our principles and standing for our values and standing for what our forefathers, for what our Christian ancestors built for us. because we would not be the country that we are. We would not be America if we were not founded by people who were believers in the Christian faith. If we had no Christianity, if we did not prefer Christianity from the get-go, from the foundations, from the very beginning of the founding of this country, we would not have this. We would not have the Stars and Stripes. We would not have America. Okay? And that's just the reality. If we have someone who's preferring Islam over Christianity, then we can't even consider that person as a viable candidate. So after this, I'm definitely not endorsing John Myrick at all. I tabled for him once, a couple times actually, worked with him before. After this, no, I'm not going to, because it shows that he's preferring the Muslim faith, the Islamic faith, people of the Muslim community over Christians, over the Christian faith. And that's just unacceptable. We can't have that in the Republican Party. We absolutely cannot have that. This is my formal withdrawal of any possible support for John Myrick. Okay, just saying, but that's just how it has to be, because we have to have preferences, we have to stand on principles, we have to stand on values, and this was just not a good move. So thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. If you like this content, please leave a like. Please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. If you live in District 32, please feel free to vote for me, Colin P. McEvers. I will be on the ballot, both in the primary as well as in the general election, and I hope to see you out on the campaign trail. Thank you very much.